All right, this is going to be an oil pump video, all right? And no matter how many of these you did, I'm pretty sure I'm going to teach you something that nobody has taught you before, or you probably never even thought of, but here it is. So this is a Mopar pump. You can actually apply this to many different pumps, whether it be Chevy, Ford, Dodge, whatever, okay? So I'm going to show you some things that I do, and maybe you can get some more ideas off of that, and port your own pump how you seem fit. So at any rate, I have a high volume oil pump here. It's a M72 high volume, and I already took it apart just to kind of look at it, and I just decided to do this video because there's not really many Mopar oil pump porting videos out there. There are some things that you have to be aware of. There are some things that will destroy this pump if you overport. There's just things that I do in general that I think is necessary, okay? So just looking at it, I can tell you right now, that right there, that 27/64 hole right there, and I just sized it using a bit, that becomes a restriction at 1500 RPM. Okay, I said it, 1500 RPM. So if you got a high volume pump and you don't port that out, it's just a waste, okay? So I will port these out to a 1730 seconds, which is a whole 100 thou difference. So yes, this will get us 1730 seconds. First, I'll go around and I'll use the round. This is just a 1/2 inch ball burr, and I'll go around here. I'll shape this, and this will actually fall right through by the time I get done porting it. But while I got you on this side, I also want to tell you guys an idea that I got from working on Harleys, and these are rock out lockers. This will actually stop the rocker shaft from clicking, as they say, the top end noise with high lift cams. But what I will do is I'll use this same idea, okay, and I will sleeve these, okay? Now you're gonna have, these won't work for this obviously because these will just fall right through. What you do want to use is hey, let me go grab some if I got them. Okay, here we go. All right, I got some shells here. I forget which one they are, but I got some shells. But what I'll do is I'll cut these, okay? And I think these use a 40 if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, I'll sleeve these, okay? Why do I do that? So when you sleeve these, it fits tighter around the bolt, so you have it's aligned better, okay? So this will actually get pressed into here, and then you put the bolt in there, and now you have a tighter fit, okay? It doesn't move around. So what you can essentially do is you can actually align this better, and when you put it together, it'll be right there. Now you can also drill a hole through here and drill a hole continually drill a hole through here into the main cap, and you can roll pin it. There's another thing you can do, but I like using the bolts because that's just, I would rather do that. I don't want to make this any weak or anything, so I don't foresee it being an issue, but that's just the way I'm thinking. So yes, you can drill this out, you can pin it, you can align that to where you want it. Now be careful, because when you bolt these up, sometimes the main stud hits here and you'll break this, okay? So make sure that you have clearance on this whole section, okay? Not just where the main cap bolt hits, but everywhere. And sometimes I even had to, on my last pump, actually the one in the Durango, I actually had to make an 1/8 inch spacer, okay? Now, you'll see a gasket that comes with this, okay? I don't use it. This is a failure point. I don't use it. If you want to use it, fine. But what I do is I sand this smooth, smoother than this, and I'll put a flange sealer there. Okay, that's it. I just put a flange seal, and that's all it gets. This is close enough machine fit. When you bolt it up to the block, you'll see some high and low spots, and that'll go away once you sand this down a little bit to get rid of this machining, these machining grooves. So that's what I do. Just for this, of course, that flange, when I mate this up to the main cap, it'll make an outline here, so I know exactly where to port this. Okay, so that's just this area. Now, open it up. Now, what I'll do is I'll actually get a piece of paper and I'll make a template, and I'll see where it actually positions itself on here, okay? Because some pumps are different, okay? See the difference? So it just depends on how it lays out on here where the template is. Of course, piece of paper, you can see through it or whatever and see where those outlines are. I'll match that to this. Now, you're saying, well, it came with the pump and it should match. You will be surprised how many don't match. Okay, that's why I ended up with this cover. Okay, it didn't match. So that's what I'll do. Now, in here, you want to be very, very careful when you port this, okay? It's just not porting it, okay? There is a ramp area here, okay? You need that ramp. You can smooth it, you can make it a little bit deeper, and you definitely want to round every corner. No sharp edges, okay? No sharp edges, round them, okay? Round them just ever so slightly. Take off that sharp edge. This will get ported, and actually I'll take one of my needle bits and I'll round this in right there. I'll round that in. No sharp. I'll round this, and I'll make sure. Oh, damn beetle. I'll make sure that ramp is still in there. I'll make sure all this is smooth. The edges right here, all rounded, all rounded. I don't want anything sharp. I don't want this casting. This all be smooth. This hole right here, this will get radiused out. Okay. As much as a radius as I can put. A 17/32 bit is bigger than a 1/2 inch bit. And yes, you do have the room. That's the only way. This is not going to be a restriction with a high volume. Especially at RPM. This cover right here, this will all get smoothed. These sharp edges, they'll be rounded, okay? These machine marks, they'll be flat. They'll be smoother. The way I measure this, okay? The way I measure this is, I know it's upside down. I will get some of this plastic gauge, put it in there. I'll probably use the red, but is it the red? I think it's the red. Yeah, I think it's the red. So I'll get the red, and I'll put it in there, and then I'll put the cover. I'll put the cover back onto it. Don't spin it, of course. Just put the cover on it, torque it down, and then remove the bolts, pop it off again. And I will do it across every wherever these meet. I will do a plastic gauge, okay? And you will be surprised how uneven these come. Then, if these are too tall, I'll sand them down. If this is too tall, I'll sand it down. It's as simple as that. As far as these go, these two items, get some sandpaper, put it in your hand, roll it around. Get rid of this sharp edge. Man, that'll cut you if you're not careful. Get rid of the sharp edge, okay? Get rid of these sharp edges. Any high spot, anywhere you can grab your fingernail, just take it down just ever so slightly on the side here, okay? Take it down just a little bit. Sharp edges, gone. Now, this is important, okay? A lot of people skip this step because they don't think about it, okay? But if you go back to small block Chevy times, you know, you have the pedestal in there and the small block Chevy pump, and you got your gear that slides on there. Well, I used to drill holes, well, I still do. I drill holes in that gear so the lubrication will actually get to that shaft that's in there holding that gear and stabilizing that gear. Okay, I'll drill holes in there. Same thing with this. I'll drill holes in here. Where it's thin, I'll just drill a hole in the top. The next one will be in the bottom, and I'll just alternate them. Some will be in the middle, some will be in the top, bottom. It doesn't really matter. If you want to just put them in the center, that's fine. I put one in the top, one in the bottom, one in the middle, and these are just freelance, whatever I feel like that day. So that's what I do to this gear rotor, okay? This one I've taken these apart and I've seen people groove these. You don't need to groove those, but I'll tell you what you do need to do. You need to round that off right there. Any sharp edge, you need to round that off. Okay. Does that do? Yeah, I think that's it with these. Oh, while I'm on these, the stock, I think the stock size is like a 600,000, like a 6. I think it's 6 here. Let's see here. 6. Oh, hold on. 0. Oh, it's 825. Yep. Okay, so this one's 825, 830, somewhere's around there, okay? 825. This one is 1030, and this one is 1.2. Okay. So yeah, there's actually four sizes of pumps you can get for a small block Mopar. All right. These are hard to come by. This is shoot, I just had the number. What was it? 1.2. All right. This is 1 inch 200 thou gear rotor assembly right here. Okay. And this is actually the bottom part for the pump that just kind of shares the stock oil pump, and you know that just bolts to the bottom. Bada boom. These are hard to come by. This you want for your very big clearance motors, okay? High revving, you need that volume, all right? I just got this possibly for 318. We'll see. That's going back on the shelf. I'm going to be using this high volume. So there's actually 4 different size gear rotor sets, all right? But that one is hard to come by, and the 4th one is even more hard to come by. So this is what we got today. There's a high volume versus a stock pump. Okay, you see the difference? High volume, stock, high volume. Okay. There you go. There's a difference. Stock, high volume. And of course you got the Boss Hoss over there. So that's for this, for that. Going back to this. When you port this, don't take this thinner than the thinnest spot here, okay? when you go to port these, be careful. If you, let's see here, if I get it. All right, so the intake needs to close completely before it transitions into the pressure. What do I mean by that? You don't want to port this area right here. You don't want to port it, say, like this, okay? Because when you do this, when you make this area bigger here, you'll have an overlap. And what will happen is you'll bleed your pressure back into the intake. It'll start aerating big time, all right? Don't do that, okay? You need a area in the pump where it's completely closed off, okay? Completely separate, closed off, nothing bleeding, okay? That's how much you can port. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But if you get into an area where you're getting into this, exposed area, it's going to start bleeding through and aerating big time. You don't want to do that. You can make this as big as you want. Smooth that out. Smooth, radius everything. I radius everything. This thing looks almost billet when I get done with it, but yeah, you want to round. You don't want any sharp edges, okay? So that's what I do to my pumps. I know someone's got something out of this because not everybody does the steps I do. And some of you are like, oh, you don't need to do that. Well, if anything at all, get rid of the sharp edges, get rid of the sharp edges here, measure your clearances, set your clearances with sandpaper, and definitely make this bigger. That is a restriction right there, okay? Make that, even if it's, let's see, even if it's a 31/64 you end up with, something bigger than a 27/64, you have to take that out. You have to port that out, okay? You have to get at least a 1/2 inch bit through there for it not to be a restriction, because you got to feed other areas of the block which have 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, and there's many holes. That is not going to supply it enough, okay? So, with that being said, just make sure you have your clearances. Now they do have a dual pickup, okay, which actually feeds into here. It's just another pickup that goes to, the pickup screen. I've never used one, don't know much about them, but I'm thinking about getting one of those pumps and just seeing what the difference is. So I don't know, maybe another video. I don't see the reason for it other than the pickup tube being too small. Oh, which brings me to the pickup tube that screws into here. It tapers down where the threads are, and that's a restriction, okay? Your intake restriction, and this is a very important point, your intake restriction is more important than your outlet restrictions, okay? Do what you can to radius that where the screen is, or your intake, that pickup tube, radius that in, okay? If you can get a bigger tube and bend it and put your own screen, even better. This right here is a better screen. This will allow this whole chamber here to fill up with oil. You might be saying, oh, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, there's an air pocket that sits in there, okay? There's an air pocket, okay? That's That's just the way the screen is made. That's the way the pickup is made. And Chevy is really big about having an air pocket in there when the engine's running. But that's not here nor there. I don't have a Chevy pump with me. So, but yes, do what you can to get rid of any intake restriction. And your intake has to be bigger than your pressure side, okay? So that's how pumps work. That's how pumps do their job, okay? You have an inlet, you have an outlet, okay? That's how turbos work. It's fluid, all right? You can make this bigger, okay? You can physically make this the next pipe size bigger. I don't like doing that, but in some cases I will do that. And if I do, I make sure that I reinforce this somehow, okay? Whether it be welding, whether it be gluing that in there, not stressing it too much, putting a bolt in there, locking it down, whatever. I do something. I drill it out. I put an O-ring seal, whatever, okay? You don't have to have threads there. If you drill those threads out, get an O-ring fitting. It's easy. Lock it down with a through bolt, something. But you can modify this. Don't be afraid to modify your intake. You need to if you modify this, you need to modify that, okay? So that's just a couple of things I do just to make sure that these things are running as best they can for what it is. And I hope that helps someone. No, yeah. One other thing. This pressure relief here, this exhausts into the intake side, okay? So it helps feed the pump. This style right, it helps feed the pump. And that's probably how that double intake works, but I don't know. I never messed with it, so I have moved this in a 1/4 inch, okay? I've moved this in a 1/4 inch. What that did to the pressure, it relieved it at 150 PSI at 2,500 RPM. 2,500, 150 PSI, that's a lot of strain on your cam. That's actually twisting your cam at high RPMs. That's putting a lot of strain on your distributor gear. That if you run the small block Chevy, that it's putting a lot of strain there. You'll eat up gears left and right. You'll eat up a cam. Your bronze gear won't last you past 500 miles. The more pressure this puts out, the more resistance it's going to have. It's just simple. It's facts, okay? It's physics. That's the way it is. The easier you can get this to pump via the intake and exhaust here. Let's just call it intake and exhaust because that's basically what it is. The easier it is, it's going to spin. Sharp edges, no bueno. Eddy currents build very easy in these pumps, okay? So that's no bueno. Smooth everything out. And that's basically it. I mean, yeah. I'll probably end up drilling this one out. When I drill this out, I'll probably end up making a video on it. But first, I want to port this and see how it works out, because some of these castings are getting thin. Some of these are just, they're not cast like the older style pumps. They're starting to have core shift big time. And the smoother this is outside, the more core shift you're going to have. So that's just what I've been running into. I'm pretty sure someone else has run into that. But when you get to 17-30 seconds, you find out fast which ones have core shift. So I hope that helps someone. It kind of is what it is. You try and make the best of what you got. You know, these things are hard to come by. They're still out there, but they're very hard to come by. So, God, yeah. Stupid fly. All right. Sorry. Where was I? ADHD's fun. All right, and that's what I got for you. So if that helps, great. I like it. If not, if you're a master genius, put up a video. I want to learn more. And that will conclude this video. Go porch you something. I gotta figure out what's going on here. Huh? What's going on there? Rock Auto, store-bought. High volume pump, standard volume pump this came off of. Don't know. Gonna have to check it out. Yeah, gonna have to check it out for sure. All right, running out of things to say, running out of things to do. It's nighttime. Coyotes are howling. See ya. And just in case you're wondering, that's a 41/64 plug. .41/64. That'll go right in there. Okay. That's the size it is. And that's inside here, it steps down. And this will be more than snug and more than adequate.